So this is Khoodeelaar television channel, broadcasting timed at 0900 hours GMT on Sunday the 31st of December 2023. Today's Sunday Times are owned and controlled by Dirty Digger Rupert Murdoch has got a promotion for the proven liar Giles Fraser. Fame and Fortune. It's published on page 12 of the Sunday Times. Business and Home. No, Business and Money. And there's a picture of the liar. Giles Fraser. I'm trying to get this page. That's the fake modest pose. It's scary going to an estate agent as a first-time buyer at 58. So he's saying that he's age 58. So this is, I'm going to try again to see if the page would appear. This is the piece. So what he's saying about he's saying that I've learned that all our little sins are revealed in our bank statements. Now that is a lie, because the sin that he perpetrated at the expense of the people of Tower Hamlets in East London, as the paid chair of a thing called the Fairness Commission that was confected by the Lutfur Rahman-fronted corrupt mayor regime in Tower Hamlets, who stole the idea from the Labour Party controlled councils across England that were kind of lobbied into starting a thing called Fairness Commission, which was actually an intentional diversion from the widespread corruption and unfairness perpetrated and practiced by the Labour-controlled councils in England, and making stupid digressions, suggesting that they were struggling, these local councils, against unfairness being foisted onto the population of their boroughs by some unidentified elements and factors. Giles Fraser is a practiced liar. His published biography, various entries, has said that he was born a Jew, but then he became a Christian. Whichever faith he actually practices hasn't stopped him from lying, because the Lutfur Rahman-fronted corrupt mayor regime in Tower Hamlets between the period October 2010 until the 23rd of April 2015, when the Election Commissioner Richard Morey banned Tower Hamlets Council's then elected mayor Lutfur Rahman Fraser chaired a thing called the Fairness Commission in Tower Hamlets, which had members like Lindsay McKee. Now, Lindsay McKee was married to, or she is probably still married to, Alan Rabisha, who was the editor of The Guardian. And in addition to Lindsay McKee, there were some other individuals, none of whom actually had any real affinity or solidarity or identity with the people of Tower Hamlets in East London, in the United Kingdom. And among them, they confected a series of so-called evidence gathering sessions, which were absolute lies. The one that I actually investigated was touted to have been held in Stepney. When I arrived at the event, it was completely and absolutely unrepresentative of anything to do with the people of Tower Hamlets. There were people there, but it was a sample, token sample of people, and there was no sign of any evidence about fairness or unfairness that was taking place in Tower Hamlets. When the Fairness Commission, a perpetration, published the so-called report sometime in 2013, it contained no reference to the unfair role being played by the corrupt regime of Tower Hamlets Council, fronted by the corrupt fraudster Luthuraman. Luthuraman was condemned as a corrupt, fraudulent individual in the ruling that was published by Richard Morey on the 23rd of April 2015. Now, Luthuraman perpetrated corruption, lying, deception, abuse of post throughout the period October 2010 until the 23rd of April 2015, when he was kicked out of office by the election commissioner Richard Morey. Now, Luthuraman was ousted in April 2015. So, Giles Fraser and Lizzie McKee and other crooks sat in the name of the Fairness Commission 2 years before that. So, whatever they were doing that under the frontage of Luthuraman, who was engaged in abuse of position, misuse of position, corruption and lying, because the then community's secretary, Eric the Pickles, published a statement in the House of Commons on the 4th of November 2014, based on the report that had been submitted to him by an accountancy firm that had carried out partial investigation into the financial activities indulged in by Luthuraman. So while this Fairness Commission, so-called, chaired by Giles Fraser, was in process, Luthuraman was being investigated for financial abuse and misuse. And the report was summarized by Eric Pickles in his statement made on the floor of the House of Commons on the 4th of November 2014. In his report, Eric Pickles made a number of allegations against Luthuraman, and then he announced that he was sending commissioners to Tower Hamlets Council, led by a former fire brigades union person, Ken Knight, who himself was a liar. So what we are talking about is Eric Pickles, who is a liar, Ken Knight is a liar, Giles Fraser is a liar, Luthuraman is a liar. and the liar Ken Livingston Livingston, and the liar George Git Galloway appeared on a platform in the Mile End Road a week after Eric Pickles' condemnation of Lutheraman. And in his spiel, Ken Livingston Livingston said to the assembled people to go and chant slogans outside the home of the commissioners. Now, the evidence of the behavior of the commissioners, Ken Knight and his co-commissioners, that I investigated and I collected, shows that there was absolutely no substance in the claim that Eric Pickles was sending commissioners to investigate Taramers Council. Ken Knight was a liar, and his two main sources of information, one was a lying Labour Party councillor called Rachel Saunders, and the liar and racist Peter Golds. They were both liars and completely not interested in the democratic audit of the Taramers Council, fronted by Lutheraman, the fraudster. So that is the basic resume summary, recapping on Giles Fraser. So the Giles Fraser confession is actually another lie being retailed by the dirty diggers owned Sunday Times, Rupert Murdoch. The So he says there is a question in the promotion piece which asks, are you better off than your parents? And the liar Fraser says, am I better off than my folks? If you look at my bank account, then the answer is clearly no. But I live in a lovely Victorian vicarage, which people would give their back teeth to live in. And I'm very happy with my life. So what the fuck is this thing about? It's scary to go into an estate agent as a first-time buyer at 58. He's fucking lying because he's living in a lovely Victorian vicarage, which people would give their back teeth to live in. And he's very happy with his life. So what the fuck is this thing about his little sins revealed in the bank statements? The liar, Giles Fraser, aggravated the lies of Lutfur Rahman and disgraced the idea of local democracy, local accountability, local council accounting to the local people. That observation by me is not consistent with the findings of Oliver Wright in the Times on Thursday, I think, this week, who writes a piece in the Times, but it's a completely ignorant piece, which I have discussed in a previous edition. The point is that the newspapers, including the Times, Fleet Street, are ignorant about the actual goings on in the local councils, whether the councils are fronted by the likes of Lutfur Rahman or not. And when the Tower Hamlets Council, as fronted by Lutfur Rahman, appointed Lindsay McKee as a commissioner in the Fairness Commission, fraudulently confected with the chairmanship of Giles Fraser, the Guardian was continuing the tradition, corrupt tradition, of hiding the secrets of the corrupt Tower Hamlets Council, the corruption of the corrupt Tower Hamlets Council. This is the piece that I'm trying to get in front of this dodgy camera that I'm having to use. This is the piece wide. It's a whole page, the whole page of the Sunday Times, page 12, the money section. And it's let's check if I can manage to read this. What is the most important lesson you've learned about money? And Fraser is stated to have said that all our little sins are revealed in our bank statements. And then it says, as an introduction or description of him, Fraser is the vicar of St. Anne's Church in Kent. I'm looking kind of without the facility of having a table, so I'm holding the device on one hand and trying to hold anything else on the other hand. So I can't really look at the kind of contents of this article as closely as I should be able to in order to find the actual details of every single thing that has been said there. So I cannot give a clear summary with all the facts in there. I'm only giving part of the representation. What I was looking for is any reference to Tower Hamlets, any reference to really the poverty that Lutfur Rahman and his corrupt cabal inflicted on the people of Tower Hamlets during the period of 2000, October 2010 until the 23rd of April 2015. And the poverty that Lutfur Rahman has been inflicting since he was allowed to return in 2022 in the same post, especially the amount of money that Lutfur Rahman has been allowed to spend in extending the expenditure on his office. Now, what a disgrace is that? That disgrace has been allowed to happen in Tower Hamlets, actually located in Whitechapel, because that's where the Tower Hamlets Council office has been shifted to during the last, well, let's say 18 months. Whitechapel is one of the most notorious places where poverty prevails, dominates, rules. I cannot access the poem that I wrote called Whitechapel, which is actually included in the collection published by Chris Searle, S-E-A. I published access to that poem. Part of that poem is, of course, about poverty, but not all of it. My other work cannot be accessed. All my libraries, all my collection of research and investigation, original research and investigation, carried out from the London 1973, has been messed up, dislocated, robbed, and stolen because of the role played by Lutfur Rahman in sabotaging my housing in Tower Hamlets and destroying the evidence that is world exclusive, every single aspect of the investigation that I've carried out, including the details of the investigation I carried out into the Fairness Commission, fronted by Giles Fraser in 2013 to 2014-15. This is the month of December. This is the last Sunday of December, the last Sunday of 2023. It was in December, 50 years ago, 1973, the 2nd of December 1973, that the Sunday Times published in its magazine So all the investigations, in addition to the various original poems that I've written in English in the main, including the poem that I wrote, the one entitled Lines of Hunger from Bangladesh, that I published, partly published, and was in the process of publishing in a form of book, several parts of the Lines of Hunger, plus the front page of the weekly Odikar, published on the 19th of December 1980, that had my poem in Bangla. Ekhane akashe jani চাঁদ উঠে না. And similarly, hundreds of poems, literally hundreds of poems, and thousands of translations, interpretations, including various versions of the poem, the rebel poet Qazi Nazrul Islam's poetry in the Bangla language. Oh, poverty, you have given me the honor of Christ. হে দারিদ্র, তুমি মরে করেছ মহান, তুমি মরে দানিয়াছ খ্রিস্টের সম্মান. That poem that I translated is one of hundreds I have translated and interpreted and annotated based on Nazrul Islam's poetry. বিদ্রোহী রণক্লান্ত, আমি সেই দিন হব শান্ত, যবে উৎপীড়িতের ক্রন্দন রোল আকাশে বাতাসে ধ্বনিবে না, অত্যাচারীর খর্গ কৃপান ভীম রণভূমে রণিবে না. These are the conspiring this So the Fairness Commission, being commissioned by the perpetrator of unfairness and corruption and lying and denial, Lutfur Rahman, with the participation of a self-confessed liar, Giles Fraser, aided and abetted by Alan Rubishers, the Guardian's then editor-in-chief, Alan Rubisher, and his wife or partner, Lindsay McKee. They had no idea about the fairness against the unfairness of the Armors Council. The call for fairness that exists in the poetry of Qazi Nazrul Islam, who is the national poet of Bangladesh. The people, the Bangladeshis, that the Sunday Times article published on the 2nd of December 1973 by Lindsay Arna attacked. There was no sign of the poetry, the translations, the interpretations, the introductions that I've been making about Nazrul Islam and other resources representing the people of Bangladesh, especially the people of Silot, because it's the people of Silot that the daughter of a white woman and a Bengali, not Siloti, father, Manik Ali, attacked in a grotesque update on Leslie Garner's attack in the Sunday Times 30 years later. Well, 30 years earlier, what, 73, 83, 93, 2000 years, 30 years previously. I also organized the only Bangladeshi community gathering that has ever been held in the United Kingdom, celebrating the office of the head of state of Bangladesh in 1980-81, held at the Allen Gardens of Brick Lane, where the gathering was addressed by then President of Bangladesh, Ziaur Rahman. I didn't appear on the stage, nor did I deliver a speech, but the engineering, the whole orchestration of the event was mine. Without my role, Ziaur Rahman would not have visited Allen Gardens. He would have just walked through Brick Lane or have spoken. He would have spoken at a short kind of event in the Brick Lane Mosque, and he would have gone back to the Bangladesh High Commission or wherever he would have been staying. It is because of me that the Allen Gardens event took place. Not only that, I also published a documentary magazine to mark Ziaur Rahman's visit to Allen Gardens ahead of the visit. And when I went to the hotel where Ziaur Rahman was staying, along with a number of other people from East London, the magazine that I had published was held very warmly, almost to his chest, by Ziaur Rahman. And he invited me to go to Bangladesh to visit his government. Of course, I didn't go to Bangladesh to visit his government, but that is what happened. The magazine that I published, just as the rally in Allen Gardens was an absolute unique event in the history of Bangladeshis internationally. And so all of these historic events, including the speech that I made that celebrated Netaji Subhash Bose, paying compliments, admiring the poetry and the role of the Janto Manush, Kazi Nazrul Islam, as Subhash Bose called him. All the documentaries, plus literally millions of pictures, millions of frames of photographs that I have taken of East London over the last decades, have been messed up by Lutfur Rahman. Does he know? Does he, Lutfur Rahman, if to compare him with the dog that messed up the manuscript of a scientist, and the scientist says, "You have no idea what you have done." To call Lutfur Rahman the dog that messed up the manuscript of decades of work in defense of the community in the East End of London would be doing kindness to him. Now, what has happened in the last 1 year and plus few months since Lutfur Rahman was allowed to return to the post of mayor at the expense of the people of Tower Hamlets, of course, is a telling series of events against democracy, against ethics, morality, against accountability. So I shall be talking about all of those in later editions. This has been a program edition of 50 minutes with interruptions because of technical reasons. As I said, this channel has been broadcasting with serious technical logistical problems which will be overcome over several months. So this is ending at 09:48 GMT on Sunday, the 31st of December 2023. And we shall update on the events that have been coming as part of the process of the COVID-19 inquiry being held currently. Currently, it's because of the holidays. It's temporary recess, but we shall be updating on the COVID inquiry and the role that the congenital liar Boris Johnson played in the lies, and baby angel Geronimo's evidence vindicated at every stage.